Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a look at engineering ethics.
Okay.
You've requested a deep dive to get a better understanding of the ethical considerations and responsibilities that face professional engineers and technologists.
Right, yeah.
And the source material we're using for this deep dive is W11 Ethics Part 1 AFS.pdf.
Okay.
So have you ever wondered what guides an engineer's choices when they're faced with a complex dilemma?
Yeah.
It's not always just about, nuts and bolts. It's
Right.
about ensuring that the things that they create benefit society as a whole.
Absolutely.
So how do engineers make sure that their work stays on the right track?
Well, engineering ethics basically recognizes that engineers have responsibilities that go beyond just, fulfilling a contract.
Okay.
Their creations impact the public and the environment.
Uh-huh.
So engineers need to consider the societal and environmental implications of their work.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So it's about more than just their technical skills. It's like they need to have this sort of moral compass to guide their decisions.
Yes.
How do they even begin to navigate those ethical considerations?
Well, that's where codes of ethics come into play.
Okay.
These codes, which are created by professional organizations and companies, provide a framework for making ethical decisions.
So like a set of guidelines.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they outline the responsibilities that engineers have to various stakeholders,
Yeah.
clients, colleagues, the public, and even the environment.
Interesting. So it's like a set of guidelines specifically tailored to the engineering profession.
Precisely.
Okay.
Some organizations, like the IEE, have their own widely recognized codes.
Uh-huh.
And here in Malaysia, we have the MBOT and BEM codes
Okay.
for engineers and engineering technologists, respectively.
That's interesting how these codes provide a framework for ethical conduct, but how do they actually play out in real-world scenarios?
Well, engineers often encounter situations where they have to apply these ethical principles to solve problems. There's a structured approach, which is outlined in our source material,
Okay.
and it involves 5 key steps.
All right.
Stating the problem,
Okay.
getting the facts,
Okay.
identifying competing viewpoints,
Mhm.
formulating an opinion,
Okay.
and finally, qualifying recommendations.
So it's kind of like a step-by-step guide to navigate those ethical dilemmas.
Exactly.
Are there any real-life examples that illustrate this process in action?
Absolutely.
The NSPE?
The National Society of Professional Engineers?
That's right, the National Society of Professional Engineers.
Okay.
They have a collection of case studies that examine real ethical dilemmas faced by engineers.
So these are like stories from the field that demonstrate how those ethical principles are put to the test.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One case, case no, 92-1.
All right.
It deals with an engineer who failed to give credit to a colleague for their contribution to a bridge design.
So somebody trying to take credit for work that they didn't solely do?
Yes.
Got it.
The NSPE concluded that this was unethical.
And emphasize the importance of giving credit where credit is due,
Right.
especially in collaborative projects.
It seems like a clear case of violating the basic principles of honesty and fairness.
Absolutely.
Are there any other compelling examples?
Another one is case name 87-5,
Okay.
which explores the potential conflict of interest that can arise.
Right.
In this case, an engineer attended a seminar,
Mm-hmm.
which was hosted by a pipe supplier,
Okay.
and it included meals and a cocktail reception.
Sounds like a pretty sweet deal, but where's the ethical dilemma?
Well, the question is
Yeah.
whether accepting those perks
Mhm.
could be seen as influencing the engineer's future decisions
Okay.
about which pipes to use in projects.
Right.
Could it be perceived as a bribe?
So it's about drawing a line between what's considered acceptable professional courtesy
Right.
and what might cross the line into something that could compromise their objectivity.
Exactly.
So what did the NSPE say about this particular case?
Well, they concluded that attending the seminar was ethical.
Okay.
They viewed it as a legitimate educational opportunity
Uh-huh.
and the perks as minimal.
Okay.
They did caution, however, that accepting more substantial gifts like travel expenses or a lavish stay would have been a different story.
It sounds like navigating those gray areas can be quite tricky.
Right.
It makes you wonder, how do engineers determine what's acceptable and what's not?
Well, it's about being mindful of the potential for conflicts of interest
Uh-huh.
and making sure that their actions align with ethical principles.
Okay.
The codes of ethics provide a valuable framework, but individual judgment also plays a crucial role.
Speaking of situations that raise ethical questions,
Yeah.
The Cambridge Analytica scandal
Yeah.
involving Facebook data
Absolutely.
is a pretty striking example of how technology can be misused.
It is.
The fact that data from millions of Facebook users was collected without their consent
Right.
and used for political targeting
Right.
raises serious concerns about data privacy and the responsibilities of tech companies. It makes you think twice about what you share online.
Yeah.
It's clear that technology can have both positive and negative implications.
Absolutely.
And it's up to engineers to ensure that their creations are used ethically.
It is.
Our source material also presents a hypothetical scenario
Okay.
that highlights the complexities of these situations.
Mhm.
It involves an engineer named Lisa who's asked to write specifications for a water expansion system.
Okay.
She's perfectly qualified for the job, but there's a catch.
Right.
She also owns a company that manufactures and sells these systems.
Oh.
So where do we go from here?
Well, this brings up a classic ethical dilemma.
Yeah.
The potential for a conflict of interest.
Okay.
We'll delve deeper into Lisa's predicament and how she might navigate this situation ethically in the next part of our deep dive.
All right, sounds good. So we're diving back into Lisa's situation.
Right.
An engineer tasked with writing specifications for a water expansion system while also owning a company that manufactures them. It sounds like she's in a tough spot.
It's a classic conflict of interest scenario.
Yeah.
Her expertise makes her the ideal candidate for the job,
Right.
but her financial stake in the outcome could cloud her judgment.
It really could.
The question is,
Yeah.
can she be objective, or will her personal interests influence her professional decisions?
So that really raises the question then.
Yeah.
What should Lisa do in this situation?
Well,
Can she ethically take on this project?
transparency is paramount here.
Okay.
Lisa needs to be completely upfront with her client about her potential conflict of interest.
Uh-huh.
She should disclose her ownership of the manufacturing company and outline the steps that she'll take to ensure that her recommendations are impartial.
So she needs to lay all her cards on the table right from the get-go.
Exactly.
Right.
This allows the client to make an informed decision about whether to proceed with Lisa's services or to seek someone else.
All right, so let's say the client decides to trust Lisa and move forward with the project. Are there additional measures that she could take to make sure that everything stays above board?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Having another qualified engineer review her specifications could provide an extra layer of accountability
Okay.
and demonstrate Lisa's commitment to ethical practice.
So it's like having a second pair of eyes to double-check everything.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. Are there any other safeguards that Lisa could put in place?
Meticulous documentation is crucial.
Okay.
Lisa should meticulously document her decision-making process, outlining the criteria used to evaluate different options and justify her recommendations.
Right.
This creates a transparent record that can protect her if any concerns arise later on.
So it's about covering all her bases and creating a clear paper trail.
Right.
And this highlights the importance of not just making ethical decisions, but also being able to demonstrate that those decisions were made ethically.
Exactly. And this meticulous record-keeping is good practice in engineering in general. Every decision made impacts people's lives, and those decisions need to be well-informed, thoroughly documented, and above all, ethically sound.
You know, it's interesting how we've seen both specific examples like Lisa's situation,
Right.
as well as broader frameworks like codes of ethics and the
Right.
5-step problem-solving approach.
Right.
But there are still those gray areas,
Yeah.
those tough calls where the right path isn't always crystal clear.
Absolutely.
Where do engineers turn when they're faced with those situations?
That's when those codes of ethics we discussed earlier become invaluable.
Okay.
They provide a framework for navigating those murky waters.
Okay.
For instance, the NSPE code,
Uh-huh.
a benchmark in engineering ethics,
Right.
emphasizes that engineers shall hold paramount the safety, health, and welfare of the public.
That seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Protect the public. It's
Right.
a pretty universal principle that applies to almost every profession.
In theory, yes.
Yeah.
But consider a situation where an engineer discovers a safety flaw in a design that's already been implemented.
Okay.
Fixing it could be costly and time-consuming,
Right.
but leaving it unaddressed could put longs at risk.
Wow.
This is where that seemingly simple principle gets complicated.
That sounds like a real ethical dilemma.
It is.
The engineer is torn between their obligation to public safety and the potential consequences of revealing a flaw.
Right.
How do they even navigate that conflict?
Well, it's a balancing act.
Okay.
The Code of Ethics offers a starting point, a set of principles to guide the decision-making process.
Right.
But engineers must also consider practical factors,
Okay.
like project budgets, client pressures,
Yeah.
and potential legal repercussions.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they have to exercise their judgment and make the most ethical choice possible, even if it's not clear-cut.
It's almost like being a detective,
Yeah.
weighing the evidence and trying to piece together the most ethical solution.
It's a great analogy.
Engineering ethics is about more than just following a set of rules. It's about cultivating a mindset, a commitment to doing the right thing even when it's difficult.
Absolutely.
And that commitment, I imagine, becomes even more crucial
It does.
with the rapid pace of technological advancements.
For sure.
We're witnessing groundbreaking innovations in artificial intelligence, self-driving cars, gene editing,
Right.
all raising a whole new set of ethical considerations.
You're absolutely right.
We're navigating uncharted ethical territory.
We are.
And engineers have a crucial role in shaping how these technologies are developed and implemented.
They do.
So it's not just about what's technically possible, but about what's ethically responsible.
Exactly.
This deep dive has really shed light on the crucial role of engineering ethics in ensuring that technology is used responsibly and for the benefit of society.
It has.
It's more than just creating cool gadgets.
Right.
It's about considering their broader impact on our lives and the world.
Absolutely.
You've covered a lot of ground, from codes of ethics to real-life case studies and hypothetical dilemmas.
Yes.
But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought-provoking scenario.
Okay, let's hear it.
Imagine you're an engineer working on a revolutionary technology with the potential to transform healthcare.
Okay.
However, you discover that it could also be misused, potentially causing harm to individuals or even society as a whole.
Right.
What would you do? Would you push forward hoping that it's used for good or try to stop its development even if it meant sacrificing its potential benefits?
Yeah.
It's a tough question, but one that many engineers may face as technology continues to evolve.
Absolutely.
We'll delve into this and other compelling questions in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
So stay tuned. Welcome back to the deep dive.
So as we wrap up our exploration of engineering ethics, we're left with that lingering question.
Yeah.
What happens when a groundbreaking technology also carries the potential for significant harm?
It's a scenario that really forces us to grapple with the complexities of responsible innovation.
It does.
We've discussed codes of ethics,
Oh.
transparency,
Right.
accountability.
Yeah.
But in situations like the one we've presented, where a technology could be both revolutionary and dangerous, those principles can feel almost too abstract.
They can.
How does an engineer actually grapple with such a weighty decision?
Well, one approach is to consider the concept of responsible innovation. It's not enough to simply create new technologies. Engineers have an obligation to anticipate the potential consequences of their work
Okay.
and take steps to mitigate any potential harms.
So it's about moving beyond the question of what can be done
Right.
to what should be done,
Absolutely.
and considering the potential impact on society throughout that entire development process.
Precisely. Engineering doesn't exist in isolation.
Right.
It shapes our world.
Mm-hmm.
And engineers have a responsibility to anticipate and address those impacts.
This is especially crucial, I imagine, in emerging fields like artificial intelligence.
It is.
There's so much potential for AI to improve our lives,
Yeah.
but also legitimate concerns about job displacement,
Right.
algorithmic bias,
Right.
and even the possibility of AI systems becoming uncontrollable.
Those are weighty concerns.
They are. It feels like a lot of responsibility rests on the shoulders of engineers to ensure that these powerful technologies are used ethically.
It's a shared responsibility.
Oh.
Engineers are at the forefront,
Right.
but we need open dialogues
Yeah.
involving everyone.
Yeah.
Early and ongoing conversations about the ethical implications of these technologies are crucial,
Okay.
involving not just engineers and researchers,
Right.
but also policymakers, ethicists,
Mm-hmm.
and the public.
But sometimes the implications of a technology aren't fully understood until it's already out in the world.
It's true.
How can engineers be more proactive in identifying and addressing those potential issues
Yeah.
before they become major problems?
Well, we need to cultivate a culture of ethical awareness within the engineering profession itself.
Yeah.
Integrating ethics into engineering curricula is crucial. not just as a standalone course, but as a core component woven throughout their education.
So ethical considerations should be embedded in the design process from the very beginning.
Exactly.
Not tacked on as an afterthought.
It shouldn't be. And it's not simply about teaching engineers a set of rules.
Right.
It's about equipping them with the tools and frameworks for navigating those complex, ethical, gray areas that inevitably arise in real-world engineering.
Encouraging them to ask tough questions along the way.
Yeah.
Questions like, just because we can build this doesn't mean we should.
Right.
What are the potential unintended consequences?
Exactly. Those are precisely the kinds of questions that foster responsible innovation. And those conversations need to happen not just within the engineering community,
Right.
but also with clients, policymakers, and the public.
It seems like we need broader societal conversations about the ethical implications of new technologies.
We do.
What role do you think individuals outside the engineering profession can play in shaping these conversations?
Well, everyone has a role to play.
Okay.
Engaging in open and honest dialogues about the kind of future we want to create with these technologies is essential. What values do we want to uphold?
Yeah.
What risks are we willing to accept? These aren't just technical questions.
Right.
They're fundamental questions about what it means to be human in a technologically advanced world.
It's a lot to consider, but also incredibly exciting.
It is.
As we wrap up our deep dive into engineering ethics, what's the one key takeaway that you hope our listeners will walk away with?
Engineering ethics isn't some abstract concept. It's a vital aspect of responsible innovation.
Okay.
Engineers have a crucial role in ensuring that the technologies we create serve humanity and contribute to a better future.
Well said. And to our listeners, as you encounter new technologies, we encourage you to ask those critical ethical questions. What are the potential benefits and risks? Who stands to gain or lose? And how can we ensure that these technologies are used in ways that align with our values and aspirations for a just and equitable society? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of engineering ethics. We'll see you next time for another exploration of knowledge and ideas.